Today we are going to start the story The Ice Have It. Here the writer is Ruskin Bond. You know that Ruskin Bond is an Indian writer of British origin. That is, he is actually a British, but he was born in India and now lives in India, though he went to England for higher studies. Here in this story, we shall get two characters primarily. One is the narrator himself. He was making a journey by the train lonely. He had to complete his journey up to Rohana. In the Rohana station, a girl got in the train. The girl's parents were at the station to see up the girl. Possibly the girl's mother made her conscious what she should do and what she should not do. Then the train started from the station. The narrator then took the initiative to converse with the girl. He asked the girl regarding her destination. The girl was not ready to face such a question because she thought that there was no other person in the compartment. That's why she got startled. Then she also expressed her feeling. It was ultimately known to the narrator that the girl would go up to Saharanpur. Then there was a simple conversation between the narrator and the girl. The narrator told the girl that he was going to Mussoorie via Dera. The following conversation makes it clear that to the girl, Mussoorie was a well-known place. Not only that, she wished that she were in Mussoorie. According to her, October is the best time to travel to Mussoorie because of its enlarged charm during the time. In this way, the conversation proceeded. Then suddenly the narrator asked a foul question which might indicate that the narrator was blind. But the girl's next question made him sure that the girl could not realize that the narrator was blind. Here the basic truth is that both the girl and the narrator were blind, but they were trying their best to hide it from the other. Suddenly the narrator told the girl that the girl had an interesting face. It was well appreciated by the girl because she was tired of hearing that she had a pretty face. At the same time, the girl reacted that the narrator was a gallant young man, but he is very serious in every matter. Then the train was proceeding towards Saharanpur station, and it was the destination of the girl. The girl was getting ready to descend there, and it was another moment for the narrator to be romantic. He thought that the girl would forget their experience during the travel, but he would bear it in his mind for future time. The girl was not comfortable to make a long train journey, but it is the narrator's opinion that he was ready to make a long journey if he is supplied with such a passenger. Then the train entered Saharanpur station, and the narrator tried to have a touch of the girl's hair because he wanted to know the style in which the girl's hair was arranged. But it was not possible for the narrator. He had to be happy with the sand which remained there. Then there was a turmoil, there was a noise in the doorstep. Possibly there was a collision between the girl and another passenger who was trying to get in the train. After the girl's departure from the train, the narrator was in his seat, but his reverie or daydream was broken by the third passenger. The narrator wanted to know from the new passenger regarding the style of the girl's hair, but the new passenger told the narrator that he had not seen the girl's hair. He had only seen the girl's eyes. The girl's eyes were beautiful, but those eyes were useless to her because the girl was totally blind. Not only that, the new passenger wanted to know from the narrator whether he had seen that the girl was totally blind. At this very moment, the narrator could realize that the girl was blind. So, here the success of the writer Ruskin Bond appears that he is able to keep the suspense, keep the curiosity of the readers at the end of the story, and there the story ends.
Students, I think that you have already completed the listening to the audio record. Now we are entering the text. I had the train compartment to myself up to Rohana. Then a girl got in. The couple who saw her up were probably her parents. They seemed very anxious about her comfort. And the woman gave the girl detailed instructions as to where to keep her things, when not to lean out of windows, and how to avoid speaking to strangers. Here, in this introductory paragraph, we can see that the narrator was making a train journey lonely up to Rohana. Then he got a co-passenger in the form of a girl. The girl was accompanied by probably her parents. It seemed to the narrator that they had, or the couple had, a lot of anxiety about the girl's comfort during the journey. Not only that, the woman gave the girl regarding do's and don'ts of the girl during the journey. There were three instructions. These are where to keep her things, when not to lean out of the windows or outside of the train compartment, and how to avoid the speaking to the unknown persons or the strangers. They called up, they called their goodbyes, and the train pulled out of the station. As I was totally blind at that time, my eyes sensitive only to light and darkness, I was unable to tell what the girl looked like, but I knew she wore slippers from this way they slapped against her heels. Don't imagine that the couple were making a journey with the girl. They were only there to see off the girl. At the time of the train's departure, they bade their goodbyes to the girl. The narrator was totally blind, or he was suffering from total blindness at that time. So his eyes were only sensitive to light and darkness. So the narrator was unable to get an impression of the girl's appearance, the girl's look, but he could form an idea that the girl wore slippers, and it was possible for him to get this idea that the girl wore slippers from the sound made by the slippers hitting against her heels. Yes, thank you. Next, it would take me some time to discover something about her looks, and perhaps I never would. But I liked the sound of her voice and even the sound of her slippers. It is the narrator's idea, it is the narrator's imagination that it would take, it would consume a time to discover something regarding the girl's appearance, girl's looks. He had also the apprehension that he would never be able to have an idea of the girl. But here it is the reality that the narrator has already liked the sound of the girl's voice, and in addition to it, he has also liked the sound of her slippers. Are you going all the way to there? I asked. The narrator was waiting in the train compartment when not only that he has already made a journey lonely. So now he has got a co-passenger, and he takes the initiative to start the conversation with the girl.
He asks here the girl about her destination. He wants to know whether the girl was going all the way to Dera. You may get a question, grammatical question, in the form of narration change. Note it. I must have been sitting in a dark corner because my voice startled her. She gave a little exclamation and said, I didn't know anyone else was here. But the girl was not ready to have such a question from any co-passenger, and as a result of it, she was startled, she was bewildered at the time being. The girl gave a little exclamation and expressed the reality by saying that she did not know if anyone else was there in the compartment. Well, it often happens that people with good eyesight fail to see in what is right in front of them. They have too much to take in, I suppose, whereas people who cannot see or see very little have to take in only the essentials, whatever registers most tellingly in their remaining senses. It is the general idea with the people having all the sense organs active that they cannot see what is in front of them. But with a person having one or more than one sense organ or organs inactive, the person has to use the remaining sense organs very significantly. Here the narrator's idea is that the people with normal eyesight have so much things in front of them, so they cannot accept, they cannot see all the things. On the contrary, the things which appear most significant to them in their remaining senses, they can see those things. It is a reality for most of us. I didn't see you either, I said, but heard you coming. In my audio clip, I have told you that both the characters here are trying to hide their blindness from the other. Here, the narrator is admitting in another language that he could not see that the girl was there or she was entering the compartment, but she could only hear that she was coming in. So we cannot claim that the narrator is telling a lie. Here he is expressing the reality in a different language. It is the duty of the readers to find out the reality. Here in this sentence the narrator is admitting that the narrator is confessing that he himself could not see that she was coming. He could only realize that she was coming in the compartment. I wondered if I would be able to prevent her from discovering that I was blind, provided I keep to my seat. I thought it shouldn't be too difficult. Here the narrator is stating his purpose. His purpose was to hide, to conceal his blindness from the girl, and he is confident enough that it would not be a difficult task for him if he can remain to his seat.
The girl said, I am getting off at Saharanpur. My aunt is meeting me there. After a long time, the narrator here gets the response to his query which he has made earlier. Here, the girl states him that she would get off at she would get down of the train compartment at Saharanpur. She also adds to it by saying that her aunt would meet her there at Saharanpur. You may get a question, SAQ question from this very speech. Then I had better not to get too familiar, I replied. Ants are usually formidable creatures. Here, the narrator makes an expression or states his idea regarding the ant. According to him, ants are very formidable or strict creatures. It indicates that he has or the narrator has a different idea regarding the ants. That's why he thinks it better not to be so much acquainted with such creatures like ants. Where are you going? She asked. It is the girl's turn to ask the narrator regarding his destination. The girl wants to know where the narrator was going, to Dera and then to Mussoorie. Here, the narrator responds to the girl's query by saying that for the first time he would go to Dera and from there he would go to Mussoorie. That is, his ultimate destination was Mussoorie via Dera. You may get a question from this very line also. Oh, how lucky you are! I wish I were going to Mussoorie. I love the hills, especially in October. Here, the girl becomes somewhat romantic. He, she wishes here that she were going to Mussoorie. Not only that, the girl also expresses her fascination for the hills and particularly in October. That is, the girl had a wish to travel to the hilly regions, especially October. From this very idea, we can conclude that Mussoorie is situated in the hilly regions. I am mentioning the lines from where you can get SAQ or multiple choice type questions, but there are also some lines from where you will get grammatical question. I shall give you an assignment after the completion of this text bearing the grammar items from this very text. So don't be worried, enjoy the reading of the text now. Yes, this is the best time, I said, calling on my memories. The hills are covered with wild dahlias, the sun is delicious, and at night you can sit in front of a log fire and drink a little brandy. Most of the tourists have gone, and the roads are quiet and almost deserted. Yes, October is the best time. Here, the narrator is with the same opinion with the girl or under the same opinion of the girl. According to the narrator, October is the best time considering all the pros and cons. Here we have irony in the narrator's description of the scenic beauty of Mussoorie during the month of October. The hills are covered with wild dahlias. Then the hills are wrapped up with the wild dahlias. You know that dahlia is a flower. The sun is delicious. The sun is delicious means the sunshine is enjoyable. The sunshine is pleasant during the month of October. And at night you can sit in front of a log fire. Log fire means the um, log is a wood, and in order to get relief from the cold, fire is lit with the or in the log, that is called log fire. You can enjoy the heat of the log fire at night and drink a little brandy. Most of the tourists have left the place, that's why the roads are quiet. The roads are not noisy and haunted, H-A-U-N-T-A-D. Yes, October is the best time. So according to the narrator, considering all these points, October is the best time to travel to Mussoorie. She was silent. I wondered if my words had touched her or whether she thought me a romantic fool. Then I made a mistake. There was a realization, mingled feeling with the narrator. She thought whether the words uttered by him touched the heart of the girl, or whether she had already started to think that the narrator was a romantic fool. Then I made a mistake. At that very moment, a mistake was committed by the narrator, and you may get a question from this very line: what was the mistake referred to here? She seemed to find nothing strange in the question. Had she noticed already that I could not see? But her next question removed my doubts. It was the narrator's idea that the girl did not find anything strange, anything odd in the narrator's question. He had also another idea. If the girl had already noticed that the narrator was blind, but so we can conclude that the narrator was in a confusing situation, in a doubting situation. But the next question asked by the girl removed all his doubts or confusions. Why don't you look out of the window? She asked. Then the girl asked the narrator why he did not look outside of the window. Here it is also ironical that, or it speaks in a different language, that the narrate girl herself was unable to detect the narrator's blindness. I moved easily along the berth and felt for the window ledge. The window was open and I faced it, making a pretense of studying the landscape. I heard the panting of the engine, the rumble of the wheels, and in my mind's eye I could see telegraph posts flashing by. Now it is the role, or another role, to be played by the narrator in order to hide his blindness. Here, the narrator pretends that he is looking at the landscape outside the window. The narrator could hear the panting of the engine and the rumbling sound of the wheels, and above all, he could see in his mind's eye, or in his vision, that the telegraph posts were flashing by. Have you noticed, I ventured, that the trees seem to be moving while we seem to be standing still?
Ventured means after attaining courage, the narrator asked the girl if the girl had noticed that the trees seemed to be moving while they within the compartment seemed to be standing still. And I think all of you have attained such an experience while making a journey in the bus or the train. It seems that the passengers along with the vehicle is along with the passengers are static without any movement, and all the static things like the trees, posts, etc. are moving behind. That always happens, she said. Do you see any animals? Here, one thing is to be noted that the girl is also pretending to be normal. Here, she very confidently answers that it is the all kind phenomenon. Not only that, she also tries to convert the or divert the narrator's attention. She very suddenly asks the narrator whether the narrator was able to see any animals there. No, I answered quite confidently. I knew that there were hardly any animals left in the forests near Dera. There is no reason to imagine that the narrator has not seen any animal there. It is the narrator's general notion, general idea that guides him to make such a comment. It was his general idea, general belief that no animal can be visible there in the cold region or the hills. That's why, with a lot of confidence, he answered negatively. Not only that, here he supports why he answered in such a way. I knew that there were hardly any animals left in the forests near Dera. They were very adjacent then to Dera, and it was the proximity of Dera which made him utter such a comment. I turned from the window and faced the girl, and for a while we sat in silence. The first part of the narrator's tense has already been completed. That's why the narrator turned his face from the window and faced the girl, but both of them remained silent for a while. You have an interesting face, I remarked. I was becoming quite daring, but it was a safe remark. Few girls can resist flattery. She laughed pleasantly, clear, ringing, a clear, ringing laugh. Then the narrator took the initiative to continue the conversation. Here, the narrator appreciates the girl by saying that the girl possesses an interesting face, and according to him, it is a safe remark to appreciate an unknown girl. It was also known to him that few girls can resist flattery. Flattery means to satisfy a person with making some compliment. She laughed pleasantly, clear, ringing laugh. The girl took the narrator's comment very pleasantly, and she expresses it by her laughing. Now we have to note how the girl reacts to the narrator's appreciation of the girl's face. It's nice to be told I have an interesting face. I am tired of people telling me I have a pretty face. The girl explains the way why she considers it to be enjoyable, or the narrator's appreciation to be enjoyable. She was exhausted, she was tired of people telling her that she possessed a beautiful face, a pretty face. But the narrator has appreciated the girl's face, mentioning it to be interesting. Somehow it is totally different from the early appreciation as heard by the girl. Oh, so you do have a pretty face, thought I, and aloud I said, well, an interesting face can also be pretty. When the narrator could find out that the girl accepted his comments, his appreciation pleasantly, he attained another venture or courage. Then he tries to make up it by saying that an interesting face can also be pretty, can also be beautiful. So, according to the narrator here, an interesting face and a pretty face or beautiful face are synonymous. You are a very gallant young man, she said, but why are you so serious? But the girl finds a contrast in the narrator's comment, in the narrator's attempt. Here, the ambiguity, here, the contrast is that the there is no doubt that the narrator is a very gallant young man, very courageous young man, but at the same time, he considers everything with a bit of seriousness. It is the ambiguity or contrast. I thought then I would try to laugh for her, but the thought of laughter only made me feel troubled and lonely. Then the narrator had a mentality to laugh at the very comment of the girl, but the reality with him is that the thought of laughter, the idea of laughter only made him feel troubled and lonely. That is, the thought of laughter is always troublesome or problematic and lonely with the narrator. Students, I have already taken nearly 30 minutes more than the stipulated time. The class was scheduled to end with at 3 p.m. but now it is approximately 3:30, and it is a fact that we have already read the half of the story. So I think we should stop here, and in my next class, when and if I get a chance, I shall complete the remaining portion of the story and then discuss the questions expected in your final examination. At the same time, I shall give you an assignment. So, my advice for you to go to the text, or it is better to say part of the text which I have completed. So, bye to all. Stay home and continue with your studies.